Welcome everyone to another mindful walk. In today's walk we'll be going through megacity, slowing things down so we're not rushing through and missing all these wonderful details. By us slowing it down, we can really bring our focus to the here and now. This can help build our attention. It can also help us manage worries about the future as well as difficult memories from the past. And with that understanding, let's get to it. As we approach, just notice the variety of different details here. There's some petals falling off the tree, reflections off the water, as well as a bit of a glow coming from behind the drum. Spend some time just noticing these varying details and notice where your mind goes. The more we focus on these different things, the better our attention and focus can become. So, although it might be difficult at first, I really encourage you to keep it up. It's very rare that we actually make the time for ourselves to do this, and we can often feel guilty whilst doing so. So I encourage you just to notice those feelings. But right now, we're directing our attention to focusing on what we see before us. As we turn around, we can see a massive city before us with a lot going on. Take your time, just notice where your eye goes. Notice some of the different lights, how they reflect off different objects, as well as the rain as it falls and affects the area around it. As we approach things at a different angle, just notice how some of those same objects might change a little bit. Your eye might be drawn to new details. That's perfectly fine. As we look at both this bush and the trees behind it, just notice the different shades of green as well as pink on the leaves that we can see before us. As the moon goes through its cycles, it also changes the lighting on the leaf. Interesting to reflect on how it looked before and how it looks now. As we return our focus just to the greater city, we can see the lights at a different angle. Also notice the hologram as it comes and goes. It rotates and moves. It can be quite attention grabbing. If this is where your attention goes, that's perfectly fine, but try and focus just on that. If this isn't your first time doing it, try and find something different in the environment and focus your attention on that. See if there's anything new you notice and anything that stands out. And then as we move over here, we can just take a closer look at some of the petals that have fallen. It almost becomes stuck to the wetness of the road. It's remarkable the details we might miss as we go on these walks. Just looking at the road before us, we can see how some of the pavement has been paved over, some potholes filled in, as well as some manholes that have been sealed up. As we walk past it, we can also see how the light shifts and reflects off of the water that has gathered atop it. Spend some time observing the scene. You can see different expressions of neon reflected off the surface of the ground. Just take note of how the pink hue tends to kind of shape the left side of the screen. Whereas if we look to the right, there's a bit more of a golden glow coming from the statue. And all these colors tend to mix and reflect on the street below. Just find something here that catches your eye and focus on it, noticing its unique characteristics. Once more, as we look at the tree, just notice how it moves in the wind. How some of these leaves have different appearances, shapes and sizes than some of the others. They can be much like thoughts in this way. And we might not be able to see these individual thoughts until we actually stop, slow down, and observe what's before us. So do the same with this tree. Nature can be a great source to tap into. There's a lot of variety in a concentrated place. If we just look at these leaves, for example, we can see different shades of green, different leaves lapping over the others, a series of different movements as the wind catches them. Just take a few moments to register the scene before you. As we continue our walk, you can see there's a few signs that stick out. Some of them might be more attention grabbing than others. This can be much like emotions as well as thoughts. Although try your best just to shift your focus to finding these other different details in the environment before us. If we were to look to the right, I just noticed the air conditioning units. There similarly are some street signs further down, as well as some advertisements. Just notice these little details and how they catch your eye. If we take a little bit of a detour and look at these different objects that are just tucked away to the side, it's surprising what we can find when we look. Seems to be a recycling bin, a vending machine of some kind, as well as a little stall. We can also see the rain running down the side of the wall. Just notice how it trails in some unique patterns and seems to vary as the time goes by. As we continue our walk deeper into the city, just notice the size of these buildings, how they have a rich variety of different lights emanating from them, and how our eye might get caught on many different details. Just observe the scene with a sense of curiosity, noticing these things as if it's the first time you've ever seen a city lit up like this. As we continue to walk, we see a building with some holographic fish busy traveling around it. You can almost draw a bit of a comparison to our own minds and how we might have thoughts racing round and round, and they may feel like our sole focus at that time. But when we begin to shift out, there's a lot more to see and observe. And see the lights on the rail as they ascend and descend. You can see the lights reflecting off the rain on the floor, the stop signs, as well as some of the steam coming from the man cover. Also notice some of the signs with different colors, and as they shift and move, emanating their own unique source of light. Just take a moment to take in the scene as a whole. Just notice where your eye gets drawn to, and see what you notice about that space. Amidst all this futurism, we can find some simplicity if we look at things like the little red lanterns. You can also see the rain streaming down the sides of the building. An interesting assortment of colors from the wall. You can see billboards and different posters and books and stalls. As we walk, our mind can also begin to wonder, like, who put these things here? Why are they there? Do they have a bit of a story behind them? Just observe these thoughts, much like you're observing the environment. This is quite a busy scene. We can see there's an ice cream truck, the building with the fish swirling around, as well as a mixture of lights coming from all these different signposts. You can also see the air conditioning units swirling away. Just look at this and just see what catches your eye. As we continue on, we can begin to see nature resurfacing once more with some bamboo sticks shooting out from the ground, as well as a cherry blossom in the distance. Similarly, these sway at a similar pace to each other, but have completely different appearances. Oftentimes things can feel completely unrelated, but they're affected very similarly by our own thoughts. In this case, the wind. You can see a storm raging in the background, and also a sense of tranquility just before us amidst the tree. Whilst all this stuff can be happening, we can find something that really keeps us in the present moment, so that the storm doesn't have a massive effect on us. As we shift our focus once more, noticing the different signs and how they might catch our attention, just observe the flickering of the light for a few moments. If we look to the right, we can see the rain continuing to fall on the ground, and how the notably large neon sign of the tiger illuminates the ground below. We'll shift again to the building. Just look at each fish as if it's its own thought, sensation, or feeling as it kind of races around and around. Yet despite this all, the building stands still, unaffected by the fish swirling around. And even though we see these fish traveling in a uniform pattern now, at times it can feel like they're everywhere and we can't see out of the windows. Whereas when we begin to zoom out and look at things from a distance, it's that much easier to detach from these troublesome thoughts. As we continue to detach from these things and just observe them a bit more externally, we'll zoom out and just look at the city from a distance. Noticing how all those different details we saw up close aren't as present now. And by taking a bit of a different perspective, we can look at things as part of a bigger whole. It's much the same with our inner experiences. I hope this walk has been helpful today. We have a few others on the channel. There's always something new that you can spot as you go through them, so I encourage you to revisit them again if you've enjoyed them. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button, it really helps the channel grow. And if you haven't subscribed, I appreciate all new subscribers. Similarly, if you have any questions, feel free to fire away in the comments below, as I do read them all. Thank you everyone, and as always, stay formatting.